one issue is that there is overhead wiring in India. So you would see there would be a great amount of theft. So if you put a traditional system to take care of this kind of infrastructure, it would not work. So people were still manually turning on the street lights every day. Now, moment you put automation over there, two things happen. One, the person is now not there. It is happening automatically. Secondly, there is no theft. So basically the concept is that if you have a worry, you just close your eyes and count downwards from 5 to 1. And after 1, you imagine this rocket go up from your head with that worry into the universe. And just leave it to the universe for it to be solved.
Welcome to this episode of the Learning Club with me, Bharat. My guest today is Mr. Aman Chawla. He never wanted to become an engineer, but a small nudge from his father made him realize his passion. And today, he's running the successful business which is working towards making India more energy efficient. An electronics engineer from VIIT Pune, he has a tendency of not giving up until he has a solution for any of his problems and challenges. Welcome to TLC, Aman.
It's a pleasure being here.
Let's begin with, how did you end up doing the engineering?
The year that I passed school, there was a period in between where I had applied to Delhi University and I got selected to one of the good colleges over there. In fact, it was the best college at the time. And I got into chemistry honors.
Okay.
So I said that, look, it's good because I can continue. So I was in a cricket academy at that time and I did not want to leave. I wanted to play for Delhi under 19 and that was a big dream for me. I thought that will be a good way to manage that alongside.
You'll be able to balance studies as well as sports.
Yeah, and the college is known for its sports graduates, people who studied there and then became big cricketers. So I just wanted to continue that legacy. Somehow, when I went into the chemistry lab in that college, it was like an empty place. It was huge and there was nobody during the practical period. And somehow it was like a view into the future. It felt to me that I might spend 3 years over here doing probably more of sport and less of study. But somehow it might not do justice to all the effort that I put in till then. I am very grateful to my father to have pushed me during those years to consider science in class 10 and then to go for engineering. If it was not for him, I probably wouldn't have ended up coming here. And at the time, I had given the Maharashtra CET, and as luck would have it, I got a call from VIT and Pune, and I came here. It was a journey of 4 years that completely transformed my life. I don't think I will ever be able to repay what VIT has done for me.
So nice to hear that. But you got admission into?
I got admission into production engineering. Okay. The good part was the first year was common for all the branches. And one thing I always remembered, my brother tell me when I left for college, he said if you got into an IIT, probably a lot of things would be sorted out, right from the equipment in the lab to the quality of the professors and right up to placements. Everything will be sorted out. You go any other place, you will have to do the hard work. And I think that's something that stayed with me. Someone told me early on in first year that there's a way I can change my branch because I realized early on that, look, these concepts of electrical and computers are something that are working for me. I didn't know what a branch change would look like. And there was this day that was announced that on this day you will be this serial number because it was an order of merit. And there was actually a line. And somehow that line looked longer than my serial number because my heart was beating very fast and I didn't know how many seats would be left by the time I entered that room. Incidentally, just before I got in line, I spoke to my father. And he's someone who maybe I would disagree with, but I would always value his opinion.
Yes.
And he said, Aman, computer science le lena. And that was the first day I did not listen to my father, and I do not regret it.
Wow.
I picked electronics that day.
So nice to hear this story. You got placed in Texas Instruments from VIT Pune. Tell us something about that part of your life.
That's, I would say, the dearest story of my time at VIT, and I remember everything very fondly and very clearly. In those days, I don't know how it is now, but in those days, there used to be a 10-day placement window, and you could sit in all the companies that come in those 10 days.
Yes.
So the first was Wipro, the second was KPIT Cummins, the third was NVIDIA.
Wow, you know everything,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah, I
remember
remember everything, sir. I remember NVIDIA gave us a flask. And that's all that I got from these three companies. And in fact, on the fourth day when I called my mother, really dejected, and I had been rejected by three companies, and my dream of using my engineering felt like it would never happen. And I told her that if you have any high hopes from me, please don't have, because I'm good at what I'm doing. I don't know if there's a future. And she told me something that I hold very dear to myself, that she said that, Aman, doing hard work is in your hand. I know you have done hard work. Result will come.
So nice.
And at the 11th day, when I got four calls, I realized that was the validation. And then as part of the process, now I cannot sit for any other company, but one company, which was the VIII company, or the dream company. Now, I remember this story very well, that I was very fond of sports. So even in VIT, I was part of the football team. And I remember in one of the games, I injured my medial cruciate ligament. So it was like I was on crutches, and I was low overall. Now I have a crutch, two crutches, and a leg with a plaster, and I'm supposed to sit on the first row, and nobody else is sitting on that entire row, and there's this huge screen on which the presentation is being given. So I now, at the end of that presentation, I know everything about TI, and I am very excited. If I can say that it was my day.
Wow.
It was meant to be.
So, Aman, you were at your Disneyland, a company like Texas Instruments. What made you leave your job?
It was like a dream place for me, because I was a core guy who always wanted to learn the concepts of technology. And in college also, VLSI was something that I had keen interest in. But I think there was this thought that if I continue to do this for another 6 months, I would never leave. Especially because all my colleagues were like examples for me of how I wanted to be in life. But there was this one thing inside me that always kept asking certain questions, which in my environment, I was not getting answers to.
Absolutely.
So then I think the tough decision had to be taken. Though I was, my seniors, in fact, the head of my team was completely against my leaving at that time. But I took the decision, and internally I had decided to move on. And then I came to, so out of the two things, one electronics engineering, and the other thing joining a company like TI, there was one more thing that I wanted to do, which was always help my father retire. So I came back and I joined his business.
Right.
I started giving my time to learn what he was doing and what he had built. He had a business in polymer, so he makes pipes. I tried my best to fit in, but really there was after a year of trying, I realized that there was really no synergy. But I think in that 1 year, what I learned, which is a skill that still helps me, because I've never been professionally trained for sales, and my father's like a marketing guru. He's been handling clients since the beginning of his career, and I got a close seat next to him, seeing him handle clients day to day, and how long-term relationships are maintained, and the rules of business. I learned it in that first year.
Yes, surely.
And inside me, there was always this fire of starting something in electronics. And
So, what was that?
so we started with a lighting business. So that was the first thing, which was like the logical first step. So at that time, LED lighting was very new.
There were stories about the early days of CITiLIGHT. I'm sure those would be as interesting as we are hearing stories about TI and of VIT.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when I look back, they are very interesting. But in the moment, trust me, I would trade my position for anything else, because when you're an entrepreneur, you have to deal with absolutely anything and everything, and you cannot. Who would know it better than you? And you cannot say no. That's the biggest thing. And one of the lessons that I learned when I was working with my father was the customer is always right. So you have to deliver. Anyway, to answer your question, so CITiLIGHT is a smart street lighting solutions company. We work with cities across India and globally. So in the early days, it was not fully clear how I'm going to make a wireless aspirational product a need of the market. And as it was supposed to happen, it happened by chance. So I always had a small team in my company, even though we were doing only LED lighting. This team would work on wireless solutions, and whatever was there in the market, they would try to implement it. And what I would also do is keep myself updated about what's available outside. So I would go to exhibitions, meet people. Even if it was a small exhibition in Bangalore, I would fly in and I would attend it. So what I would do after that I would come back and make a presentation. And I started showing this presentation on street lighting to people in the industry, even the government. So 2014, even 13, I used this presentation and I kept updating it and showed it to a lot of people. One fine day, I was sitting in my office, and on the landline, I got a call from a senior government executive who said, Aman, 2 weeks back, you presented a concept. There's a cyclone in Vishakhapatnam, Hudhud, and all the light poles have fallen down. This is your opportunity. You have 2 weeks. We have to demonstrate the smart lighting solution on RK Beach Road.
Wow.
Though there was, I would say, few seconds of excitement. And the moment I kept down the phone, I realized that there is no solution.
Yeah.
It's only a presentation. And that's where this, I would say, true entrepreneurship began. And I realized that, look, uh, everything you cannot build in such short timeline. So my connect with the industry helped me. I traveled the next day to Pune. There was a company who I was already speaking to. On paper, they had a solution ready, and on email, they had even quoted for it. But when I reached their office, nothing was there. And I was hoping that I will ask them to give me 10 units and I will fly down to Vishakhapatnam and life is going to be wonderful. But the fairy tale, as they say, never really happens. So they had a wonderful team. I sat with their team. I had to roll up my sleeves, write on the whiteboard. They trusted me. They let me do, and this was for no money. And that's, I think, the biggest learning, that when you collaborate, when people want to help you, you can't buy it. It's like I think your relationship with them that makes magic happen. And in 6 days, we were able to turn things completely around, and we completed the POC. The government officials were very satisfied. Every day that we were in Vishakhapatnam, we would go to RK Beach Road just to make sure that the lights turned off, because we didn't know how it's going to scale or how the POC is going to go. But luckily, everything worked out, and the solution has now been scaled to more than 100 cities.
Wow.
We got a 2 lakh street light order with Havels for North Delhi Municipal Corporation. That was the turning point for us. And since then, we did not look back.
Absolutely.
So we've been working extensively with the industry in India. And incidentally, earlier this year, we set up our office in Amsterdam.
Wow.
This is to cater to the global market, especially Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we see a lot of traction in that part of the world. And for that, now we're going to raise equity in CITiLIGHT, because we see energy efficiency as like our go-to market, and we are scaling not only in lighting, in also building automation.
How do you see the role of automation in our country, especially in your space?
Great question. Automation is, I would say, a key pillar today, and it cannot be ignored, both in the government and the private sector, because India's problems are very unique. I'll give you an example. So one issue is that there is overhead wiring in India. So you would see there would be a great amount of theft.
Yes.
So if you put a traditional system to take care of this kind of infrastructure, it would not work. So people were still manually turning on the street lights every day. Now, moment you put automation over there, two things happen. One, the person is now not there. It is happening automatically. Secondly, there is no theft. So when you club technology with the existing day-to-day work in India, you get a result which is more than you can get anywhere in the
Anywhere else.
world. It's just that you have to be careful in the design. So something that worked in Europe will never work in India. It's very clear, especially in the outdoor space. But if you have built something in India, it can work anywhere in the world.
Tell us a few things that you follow that have really helped you in your life.
So back in 2018, when we were growing, we were doing a lot of business with the government, and there came this point where we kind of pivoted towards private
Private
players.
players, you
So
mentioned.
there was this lull that we experienced as an organization, which I had never seen before. That kind of prompted me to look at myself and look inwards, and I realized that my life was all over the place. So I had focused so much on making sure that my business grows, my team grows, we get more customers, we learn things. I forgot about myself. So I started following certain people who I felt would help me. And I look back even today at all of the teachings that they have taught me. So one such person is Robin Sharma. I very closely follow everything that he teaches, his tools. One such tool is joy as a GPS. Basically, the concept is that you only do things that give you joy, and this includes work and people. Apart from that, there's something called as a 20-20-20 rule, in which basically you have like a victory hour in the morning, which is 5 a.m. So I wake up every day at 4:30, and I spend time as per the concept. I'm supposed to spend 20 minutes on running, running or exercise, basically sweating, 20 minutes on meditation, and 20 minutes on learning something new. And then there is one more thing, which is a concept taught by Mel Robbins, which is the 5 second rule. So basically, the concept is that if you have a worry, you just close your eyes and count downwards from 5 to 1. And after 1, you imagine this rocket go up from your head with that worry into the
In the
universe,
universe.
and just leave it to the universe for it to be solved.
Let's come back to our favorite place, VIT Pune. Share some memories and some stories about those days.
My first memory of VIT in itself will always be that it was a place where we found friends who are friends till today, and I believe will be friends for life. In no time, you would have 25 people going for dinner and lunch together, and sometimes there wouldn't be enough place to sit in the restaurant that we would eat at. But I think those are like fond memories. And then I think another thing happened after my branch change. I had lost a little bit of time
Time,
because
yes.
electronics had already began, and I started probably more than a month later. And then, as luck would have it, I got jaundice
Oh.
just before the exams. Then I flew back to Delhi. So the next 10 days, I really don't know what I did. And those were the days of submissions when you had to submit your files.
Assignments
And
and
that was the
everything.
first time we were doing this, and I had no idea how I would do finish it. But eventually, like I said, the friends were the key to my probably being comfortable. And honestly, they completed all my submission work, and they told me, Aman, you just take care of your health. We are here. We are completing it. But incidentally, I could not make it at the day on the day of submission.
Okay.
So finally, I, along with my father, came to Pune a few days after that. And I was very nervous. I don't know. It felt like back in the school days when my teachers would meet my parents and nothing good would come out of it. So I was more worried about finishing the work, so I could not stop him from doing that. But in the end, my father came back to the hotel in the evening, and then he told me that, Aman, why were you worried? All the teachers spoke so well about you. They said that he is attentive in class, he is answering the questions. It's highly unfortunate that he got this at this time, but we know he has got a bright future. So that was
That
like
was a
a
relief.
validation, and that I think was like the final icebreaker for me. After that, I did not need any invitation.
But I'm sure you would have caused some trouble also someday.
Uh,
Any memory around that?
Not that I should be telling you, but now that I think I have graduated, I can safely mention this. What happened was that, as a trend in those days, we were celebrating birthdays by putting water on the birthday boy. So now what happened one day, and this was not anywhere related to me, that day the warden decided to visit that room. He knocked, and these guys
threw
threw
water.
water on him. And it became a big thing. And the whole hostel was asked to assemble at 12 o'clock downstairs. And I don't know, another list was made, and my name was in that list. Now, another background I want to give, Professor Karve was our electrical teacher at that time. And like I said, I would attend all the lectures, and she would know everybody by name. It was her quality. She would take a very unique type of attendance. So in her attendance, she would look up, and she would not take names. She would just look at all the students and keep marking. And whoever was absent, she would take the name of that person.
Oh.
So there was no funny business going on in her class. So she knew Aman would always be there. And my luck was such that that list went to her.
Okay.
So next day, a name of 10 students came and was put on the notice board. So my name was not there, because she somehow correlated that possibly Aman would not have been part of that group, and I was lucky. But a lot of such mischief.
I'm sure all these memories, especially of hostel life, would be with us throughout our lives.
Absolutely.
And we always relish them.
Yes, yes.
You mentioned you grew up in a joint family. What was that like?
Growing up in a joint family was, for me, the greatest thing as a kid. I always had a group of people, and in fact, I was the youngest in the family. So for me, it was like the time of my life. But largely, it was like I would go back home, and all the decisions are taken because there is this large group of people who have been doing it for so many more years than I have been. So there was really nothing that I could add value. So I told you about taking a decision on my own was a big thing. In fact, in that time, I don't think I could even decide what I'm going to eat, because it was all pre-decided and people had their own choices. So I think that's basically one.
Any memories on this eating part?
Yeah.
Food part?
Yeah. So I very fondly remember how my mother would know if I would go back home from school, say around 2 o'clock. Everybody would have their food from 2 to 3, and I would supposedly have my food at that time. But then once everything was settled, she would come to me, and she knew that I had not eaten properly. And then at 3:30, she would cook me a chini wali roti, which was like my favorite thing to have.
Tell us about your immediate family now.
So I have my wife Shinjini and my daughter Tahira, who is 6 years old, and she doubles up as my grandmother on many days.
I'm sure.
So I somehow live my childhood through her now, and my wife is also co-founder in CITiLIGHT, so she helps me with a lot of my day-to-day work, as well as she heads the admin at the company. And we also have our own bullet journaling business, which was initiated by her. So bullet journaling is basically a form of journaling in which you can be more creative, and it's something that is very niche even in India today, but it has a huge potential, and it's like a tool to fight mental health. Her company is called Bigger Dreams Co.
Wow.
And it's biggerdreams.in is the website.
What are your other passions?
For me, I really enjoy listening to podcasts. So On Purpose by Jay Shetty is one of them. Then A Slight Change of Plans by Maya Shankar. So these are few of the ones that I really enjoy. Apart from that, I am an avid runner. So I have a running coach, and I am training for the Khardungla Pass
Wow.
Challenge, which is a race at 17,000 feet above sea level, and it is the highest altitude race in the world.
Wow, Aman. All the best for that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming over and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you.
In you, we see a person who did well in his college, had a good corporate job in one of the best corporates brands of our country, left it to join his father's business, did not find a big purpose there, started a company without glamorously naming it a startup, bootstrapping it and building it, and now solving a major issue, a major challenge of India. Thank you so much, Aman, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.